millennials go to school, get a good job, work forever and ever, and hopefully retire before you pop your clogs. But what if maybe, just maybe, there was another way?
Let me tell you about the FIRE movement.
FIRE is the latest investment strategy offering wage slaves a shot at financial freedom. The goal? Make enough money that you can retire well before retirement age. And I mean well.
So what if I told you that you could retire in your 30s?
FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early.
FIRE is an idea of how to structure your life so that you make enough money that you get to a point where you don't need to work anymore.
And while starting your golden years at 30 sounds great, the cost might be too great for some.
You're going to need about 25 times your annual living cost. You're going to need to radically reduce the amount you spend on your life, massively increase the amount that you earn. It's certainly not going to be very much fun.
Okay, so if a FIRE festival ain't a real option, Aussies can always opt for the other latest trend: dying with zero.
If you've got any money left in your bank account by the time you die, you have done something wrong.
It's an idea, but with one big problem. You just don't know when you're going to die.
This one is about working out how much money you can spend every year you're retired. So you hit the grave penniless.
I don't want to waste hours of my life going to work in exchange for no reward. So therefore, I'm going to spend it all before I die.
And while dying with zero comes with risks, like not counting health complications, it also means leaving the kids with nothing. Nada squat.
And I guess we're going to see a lot more 70 and 80-year-olds heli skiing, and that's probably a good thing. But it seems like a really hard thing to try to run down your money clock at exactly the same time as your life clock.
So, does our path to fiscal freedom lie in these maverick methods, or is it just easier to stick with the 9 to 5? Let's go to retiree Dave Gow. Dave, you retired at 28 and you're 35 now. So how did you manage to do it? Did you give up the best years of your life?
Well, everyone else is giving up the same years of their life, aren't they? So I managed to do it by doing something completely different to what most people do. So when most people start out work, they start increasing their income as much as they can. And so I actually did that part of it. But then what I also did was reduce my expenses as much as possible. So a key part of that is essentially avoiding what's called lifestyle creep. And that is basically the phenomenon that when your income goes up over time and as you get pay rises, most people start then ratcheting up their lifestyle. And so they're in this position where they can never really save and invest and get ahead because they're always sending their money straight back out the door just as soon as they get it.
But isn't that what young people are supposed to do? Aren't you supposed to travel and, you know, go to bars and catch up with friends and not just work really hard and, you know, kind of squirrel it all away?
Well, yeah, you can definitely do some of that, but I guess there's a trade-off to be noted here. So you can either do a lot of that and end up with no savings, no investments, and have a great 20s, probably more fun than you can imagine. Or you can wind it back a little bit and engage in some of those activities, but then do so in a position where you're also able to invest and build your wealth over time. So then you have a lot more freedom and flexibility in those later years when you're in your 30s and 40s, and you might be getting a little bit sick of the monotony of full-time work, or you want a career change or something like that.
You were pretty young when you started doing this. You were working in a factory. I mean, how much of your youth did you actually get to live? Did you live like a monk?
I wouldn't say I lived like a monk. I mean, I lived a fairly simple life. I still went out drinking and still went out on some holidays and stuff like that. But I did cut back on those things in an effort to invest and be in the position that I am today. And so I started to look at spending and holidays and consumption and all those sort of things. The way I saw it, the less of those things I do now, I can do even more of them later and be in a position to do other things in my life as well.
So you're basically in a position where you can kind of choose what you want to do and you don't have to worry about money at all. Do you have enough to get to the end of your life?
Yeah, I'm very confident that I have enough to get to the end of my life. So I built my situation around the idea that I wouldn't really earn any money after leaving full-time work. And so that's turned out to be a little bit pessimistic because I have actually earned some money afterwards. I kind of planned on not really doing much for some reason. I underestimated how much energy I would have outside of full-time work. So I've been fairly conservative. And so based on my investments and the fact that it's very likely that I'll earn some sort of income in some capacity that I'm fairly confident that will last the rest of my life.
Dave, enjoy retirement. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks very much.
Retiring early sounds nice, but what about this dying with zero thing? That fills me with all sorts of anxiety.
What, timing it right?
Yeah, the idea that you're just going to blow everything in the hopes that you have absolutely nothing left. If my kids get nothing or my daughter gets nothing, it doesn't bother me. I feel like inheritance to me, I'm like, don't wait around for that. But just the idea of, like, blowing all your cash because you want to die with $0, I'm like, what if things go wrong? What if you live for like 10 years longer than you thought you were going to live for? Like, why aren't you financially responsible? It scares the crap out of me.
And becoming a burden on society.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Then you got exactly. The idea is if you have the means, you're supposed to be trying to plan for your retirement, right? And then you don't have to rely on the government later because you've done the responsible thing.
But I mean, those Antarctic cruises look great.
Yeah, that's true.
It's pretty tricky. I've sat quietly because I mean, I just don't. Money. I don't understand. I don't understand, basically. And I don't know how on earth you can time things. Like, there's so many variables here. How on earth can you, like, save enough money for and space it out for when you're going to die when we have no idea when we're going to die? And even worse, this is my fear, what happens if you do all your working young and then you die young as well?
Yeah,
when
correct.
do you live?
Correct. I know, right?
Hamish, when do you live?
18 months off?
Yes, I want to take a... Well, that's a whole other story.